Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to change your front wheel bearings in your Fulcrum Racing 5 disc brake front wheel. So let's go ahead, I'll run through the steps. Right, so here we have the wheel. Now, as you can see, centre lock disc. So what you need to do first is, on both sides, if you look at the end here, where the axle will go through there, that piece there comes off. So what you need to do, if you haven't had yours apart before, they can be tricky to remove, especially if you've done quite a few miles with your wheels and you've never taken them apart. But basically you should just be able to get your nail in behind that cap there on the end, you can see that, and pull those out. They got an O-ring on them, so if you pull that out of there, you can see the O-ring on there. Now, if yours are tight in there, what you can do is get a pair of pliers, put some tape around it before you start, some electrical tape or some masking tape, and then hold on to it with a pair of pliers and pull it out like that, or like that. Just protect it with a piece of tape so you don't damage the end caps. And it's the same for the other side. So this is the non-disc side, so you need to get in behind that one and pull them off like that. So once you remove those, then on the non-disc side there's a ring there, a collar with a 2.5mm hex head there. So what you need to do is just undo that a few turns. So we just get on that, see the collar remove, so you just need to hold it, undo that, just slacken it off a little bit, like that, and then hold the other side, just with your hand, then you just undo that collar, it's threaded on, just undo it anti-clockwise, like that, till it comes off, and then you can just push the axle through like that. There'll be a cover there over the bearing washer, so that just comes out like that. Make a note which way it goes in. You can pull the axle out the other side, or spin it round. Just pull the axle out like that. And then in there again there's a washer in there, so you may need a little screwdriver just to be able to flick that out. Then you'll be able to see the bearing in there. Right, so now you can see both bearings. What you need to do is get yourself a block of wood on a hard surface, just rest the wheel down on it, doesn't matter which side you do first, and then what you need is a punch and a small hammer. And then if you look down inside the hub, you can see the bearing down in the bottom there. So what you want to do is, I'll just show you, you just hit on this part, the inner part there, left, right, up, down, crisscross pattern, but obviously on the bearing down in the bottom there. So if you look down inside you can see it. So you just rest your punch on, then just move it, just crisscross it. There you have the bearing there. So what we do now is we just flip the wheel over, put it back down. Now you can easily see, because you removed that bearing, you can easily see the bearing down in there now. So you can just by hitting it out, it comes out, as you see there, it's just flush there. So what you can do is just for the last little bit, just hold the wheel just up, just an inch or so, just off the block of wood, and then when you hold it up, just tap it out. So there's a bearing from the other side. So what you want to do now, when you get yourself a couple of fresh bearings, clean out inside the hub, all the old grease or anything that's in there and dirt, thoroughly clean that out, and then we're ready to reinstall them. Right, so once you've got everything cleaned up, we can reinstall the bearings. Now, if you've got a bearing press, then you can use one of these. All you do is put the bearings in either side, bit of grease around them, and then what you can do is put that through the middle, tighten up this side, then it pull in the bearings. So if you've got a press, then you can use one. If you haven't got a press and you don't want to buy one just to do your wheels, say once in their lifetime, change the bearings, then I'll show you how to do it not using a press. So what you want to do is, first of all, what we'll do is where the bearing's going to sit inside the hub, just put some grease around where it's going to sit like that, and then turn it round and grease the opposite side as well, the same. Just put a light smear of grease in there like that, and then we start on the non-disc side. What you do is get your bearing. Obviously what you want to do is only use quality bearings from known manufacturers. Don't be tempted to buy cheap bearings because it's false economy, they won't last. Just buy some quality bearings and do the job once. So what you want to do, get your bearing, just put a smear of grease around the outside of it, and also put a coat of grease on the side of the bearing that you're not going to see, that's going to face down inside the hub. Just put some grease there over the seal itself, just to help keep the water out, because it's the water that gets the grit into them that over time wears the bearings out. So what you do is just place it on there, drop it down in like that, push it in a little bit, make sure it's flush there, and then what you need to put the bearing in is a 22mm socket like that. And what that's doing is you're just sitting, it's exactly the same size as the outside of the bearing there, so it's just sitting directly on there. Never hit where the seal is, because you'll damage the bearing before you've even put it in, so never hit where the seal is. So we use that to put it in. So all we do is make sure that it's on there. Like I said, you're hitting it in straight, and I'm not hitting it hard, all you're doing is tapping it in. You can't do any damage, so you just put that over like that, make sure it's over the actual bearing, then just tap it in and keep taking it away and looking, make sure it's going in straight. So like I said, just take it away time to time and just check that you're not hitting it in straight. Right, so once the bearings just started to go in there, there'll just be more of a lip there, so the socket will just sit on there like that, without moving at all, just sit there, so you can just carry on tapping it in. There's the bearing installed on that side. So what we'll do now, flip the wheel over Do the same thing on the disc side. Just put a smear of grease over the bearing again, and on the face that's going to be inside the hub, put a good coating on there. And then same thing, just rest that down in there like that, making sure that it's going in straight. And get your socket again, rest that over, it will just sit in there like that. This side slightly further down in there, but it's still no problem, just tapping it in. So there's that side all installed, as you can see. So we're ready to go ahead and refit the axle. Right, 1, 2, 3. Right, so before we put the axle through, just put some grease there on the bearing there where the axle's going to go through. Put a smear on there. And then we're ready to put the axle back through. So what you want to do is with your washer there, put that on first, like so. Just sit that there. And then before we put the axle through, we'll just put a bit of grease around where the bearing's going to go. So there, and on that end, like so. Then we slide it back through. Like that, so it's all the way through. And then turn it round, put your washer on this side, and then your collar, put that in place. That just hold this side and then just screw that on. All the way until it stops. Be careful not to cross thread it. So just hold on the other side and just do it up until it stops moving. And then with your 2.5mm again, just tighten that down, just hold it in place. Just nip that up, like so. And then what you want to do is just put a little bit of grease there on the inside of the axle, both sides, like that. Because I showed the caps there fit in the axle to convert it, we've got O-rings on them. So that's what tends to get stuck. So if you put a bit of grease on, then you can just pop them in, both sides, like so. So that's the bearings in there. Just make sure you check and spin your wheel, make sure they spin okay. Obviously they're not noisy or anything, they shouldn't be, they're brand new, but always check they spin okay, like that. So I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.